Okay, have you ever heard the joke, coffee breaks over, everybody back on your heads? That's the punchline. Look it up. It's cute. It's 11:30 and coffee breaks over. I went ahead and processed the first video I did today. It's should be up in the air pretty quick. In the meantime, back at the ranch, I'm going to do a little desk work here. I'm going to take these two wires that come out of the alternator and I'm going to extend them with an extension, okay, that goes way back here and ends up somewhere back in this area where I'm going to mount the new Podronics, a solid state rectifier regulator unit to replace the old rectifier and the two Zener diodes. So right now I'm just going to make a long extension cable. I'll put this in the tripod and try to stay out of the way as I do it. First of all, I'm going to make myself a new soldering tip. I make my own. This is number 10 solid copper wire, house wiring, power wiring, and I make tips out of it. My buddy across the street, Richard, showed me how to do it, and I can make a lot of tips out of this thing, rather than spending $7, $8, $9, $10 for a tip nowadays. They're just too darn expensive. So I'll show you as part of this how to make a new tip, and then I'll show you how to put the tips on here, and then put a piece of tubing on that and use it as an extension for the wires coming out of the alternator. So let me get this up into the tripod. See how this goes. That's a reasonably good view. Now if I can just keep my big fat hairy arms out of the way, we'll do some work. All right, first of all, I'm going to make the new tip. I don't know if buffing this makes it any different or not, but I'm going to. All right. That's pretty weak. It was getting ready to break. All right, so let's see. We still got a good view. Yeah, reasonably. Here you go. Hmm. I don't know if I've told you this before, but I'm going to tell you again. When you go to solder something, it's really nice to have the tip completely clean and oxide free. So I typically take these and run them down a file just to make them shiny bright. They accept solder better that way. Now what I typically do is put these into the vise just to hold them nice and steady while I solder them. So let's see if I can get a view of that. There you go. Using my new tip. Now, someone out there is probably experienced enough to say, "Gee, Frank, shouldn't you tin that tip?" Well, maybe, but I don't know what good tinning would do on a piece of bare copper. And there you go. That's tinned. That's a nice connector. That's very nice. It's my KGB coffee cup. We put these through a little bit of shrink. I'm not going to try to go the let's see, where am I? I'm not going to try to go full length. I'm just going to put enough to get it about halfway. And then I'll extend it as required when I determine where I'm going to place that new rectifier. Taking yonder smushers. Now I can put these on the bike. Walk with me. Oh, how to do it and keeping my big fat arms out of the way. I don't know. Now I think I'll extend these neutral switch wires also. So we got red and I think we got green in there. By extending them out, that gives me the luxury of putting them anywhere I want. Okay, yeah, red and green. So I'm going to make enough of an extension that brings them up here, and I'll hook them up here rather than trying to hook them up down there. So I will go over to yonder supply of wire, get myself a length of red and green. I used to have these on a pole across here, and it was kind of cool to walk over there and just pull on wire. But then when the one in the middle would run out, you'd have to take all the other ones off to put the one in the middle back on, and it got to be just a pain. So I just leave them up there. So now we're back over here, and I'm going to make an extension for the red and the green. Be right back. It's really nice having all the supplies that you need in-house. It's also expensive. Don't know if I should mention this or not. Little personal. I put everything on my American Express card. All the parts I buy. My American Express card bill this month is over $3,500. Now, for any of you who have a business, you can say, "Oh, Frank, that's peanuts. For those of you who don't have a business, you're going to say, oh my God, $3,000? Yeah, and believe me, I pay it off every month. So, when you say, which nobody ever has, nobody has ever said, Frank, why do you charge so much? Well, there are reasons. 3,000 of them this month alone. All right, so let's see. Can you see that? There they are. Let me tell you, I can guarantee these are not mil spec soldering jobs. I tell you what, if any of the QA inspectors ever saw this when I was in the service, they'd probably rip my stripes right off my sleeve. This is future soldering iron tips. My buddy Richard gave me that coil, and I've been working on it for about 2 years now. Once again, I'm going to put some shrink on here, not a lot, but enough to get me up over top of where they are now. If I need more, I can add more. All right, once again, let's go in there and pick up the wires. There it is, sticking its little head up. And I will try to pick them up and put the connectors on. So there's no sense in trying to work with wires this short when everything's in your way. So if you just extend them and take them out of there, then you can work with wires in a nice open area. Much easier. Just getting these on, though, is just an adventure. Just put the wrong one on the wrong one. Okay. Doesn't matter, it's just a switch. All I'm doing is switching ground. But still, it's nice to put the right color on the right color. If I don't get this quick, I'm going to get it from the bottom. I can pull these down out of the bottom of the engine a whole lot easier than messing with them up here. Okay, ground one is done. Let's see if I get a clean shot at this green wire. This goes to the indicator. There you go. All right. So now I'm just going to thread those wires back up into here, and we'll work with them further when we get the parts that are on order, when they come in. All right, that's nice. Great. I can just take this wire that I just made for the horn and go straight up to the connector right up here. Take this one out. Just hook these two new wires right there. That'll be fine. we're gonna have to put. I have to put the battery in place so that I can make sure all these wires will go through okay. All right. Let's see. Let's put the oil lines on up on the head. Gee, Frank. Let's do the oil lines. Gosh, Frank. That sounds so exciting. Yeah. Just a case of living life on the edge. Now, with any luck, there's 2 washers on here. And there are. Expect that goes up there somewhere. I've never liked that particular clip, but I'll stick it there. Putting nuts and bolts and stuff back into the hole where they came from is a really good habit to get into. When you go to put things together, if the needed hardware is right there, it saves a lot of time. There's nothing worse than when I see somebody take a bike apart and throw all the nuts and bolts and everything they take off into a great big bag or basket or something. And then 6 years later, when they bring the bike to me, they bring me a skeleton of a bike and a box full of parts. And I say to myself, sir, I wish they hadn't done that. I do not like it, Sam. I am. Don't you know? Boy, I wish they'd put bolts through here instead of studs. I just do. I mean, seriously, people. All right. Like it or not, it's installed. I'll probably have to take it off again when I go to put these grommets on. Or I might just save those grommets for Kevin because he enjoys them so much. Out there is funny. I don't care who you are. So let's see. Wires are out of the way. There's no real reason. I got this thing here, this tube, which used to go up here or up here, and I'm not sure if it does anymore. I think it goes back here to the I'm not sure where it goes. I'm gonna have to do some thinking on that. 75, not that many. 75, not that many stock. Personally, I would take this and run it into here, like a 74. We'll see. All right, so this is all done. This is all done. Wires are all done. There's no reason in the world why I can't bolt that new starter on. So that's what I'm going to do. Well, that's a mess. Now you just saw me take a cable tie and cut it off. Do me a favor, don't tie down cables. Cables gotta flex. You tie them down and things bind up, especially control cables, brake cables, clutch cables, throttle cables. They really need to flex. If they can't flex, things are going to get tough to use, tough to work, and will break internally. So don't tie cables down. Let them drape, let them flex. One of the nicest things they did in the 75 was fill in this casting area right here, the one that collects water. Okay, so just let that flex. Scooby-Dooby-Doo and Rim-a-dim-a-ding-dong. What else to do before we drop that motor on? Let's put new caps on the ends of these spark plug wires. Let me take you back. You see how many times I walk around this RV? RV? See how many times I walk around this motorcycle lift? That's a bunch. These are 5K ohm resistor caps. These get tossed. You use solid wire. Nope. Is that wire or is that graphite? No, that's graphite, so we can't use that. So all of this goes away. We'll save these caps and throw these away. This is spark plug wire. Let's see, how do these drape? Yeah, they drape just fine. All right, so we'll just cut new lengths. And this is when you go to your toolbox and you take out your handy dandy special spark plug wire maker tools. Now this is where I tell you that I did a slight screw up when I bought 100 of these ends that go inside the spark coil. I bought the wrong size. These are for number 8 wire or number 10 wire, and this wire is smaller. So I cut them off here so that they'll fit. It's just the wire size. But I have 100 and some odd of these things, and I'm not going to throw them away. All right, so you strip the wire back using your handy dandy wire stripper segment here. Fold the wire back, put it inside the wire end for inside the coil with the wire here, so it's good. Then you work your way down, 1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3. And you end up with a nice crimp and an end that stays on. Okay. Now this goes into the, we're going to use these again. So we just might as well pull them. You don't have to do anything to the other end. Oh, loud noise out there. These, put the rubber caps on the wire. Put a little mother's milk on if you want. My male guy, the bringer of good things. And all you do for these NKGs is you just screw it in. There's a screw in here. It goes right into the center of the wire. And there you go, solid core wire, 5K ohm resistor caps. Aren't they pretty? And proper. Whoops. Come on, gluten tight. All right. There. Okay. However you want them. Isn't that neat? There you go. Easy peasy, pudding and pie. Isn't that neat? All right, I've messed around enough. Guess I have to bite the bullet and put this starter motor in. Let's see. I'll put you on the other side so you can watch from that side. You got two screw holes here, either side, and they match the screw holes in the case. So all you have to do, he says with a grin, all you have to do is get this guy to go into the gears. Maybe I will have to work from this side. It's just a matter of getting the starter gears to mate with the gears inside the primary. They just fall together gently, he said with a grin. Okay. Easy peasy, he says with a grin. Easy, easy. Just drop it in there. Okay. Well, let's take it out and take a look at it. Yeah. All right, that gear connects with that gear. This guide goes inside this bushing right here. There's absolutely nothing exotic about it. Doesn't even matter. I mean, just put it in there and rotate it until this thing is accessible, and you can get the screws in there. Five-minute job. That's a running joke around here. 5-minute job usually ends up taking 2 days. I mean, I've done this before. They just go right in. There's no offset. Well, it's in, but it's in so that the cable connector is up against the engine. So that's, let's see. Let's take a look at this compared to the old one. Make sure it was put together exactly alike. Walk with me. Here's the new one. Here's the 3 bolts that hold it in place. Let's get the old one out. Setting it right like it. There is a rotational difference. And there's a difference in the position of the mounting these screws. Hmm. These are the 3 holes where the bolts go in. The long one goes through the case into the motor. These 2 short ones go right through here into the motor. That would mean it has to go like that with the power up there. So let's try putting it in with this at about 1 o'clock on the clock face and see how it goes. They say the 75s are about 40 pounds heavier than the 74s. I think that 20 of those pounds is in this starter motor. Let's see if I can line those holes up. You'd think I'd have the Allen wrench ready, wouldn't you? But no. That would require thinking ahead. How about them apples? There you go. Exactly 15 foot-pounds. Excuse me. Okay, so now we take the wire that comes down to it. This is where I find out that I've crimped the wire down below it and I can't get it out. Believe me, been there, done that. This is the ground wire. It goes down to here. Okay. This is the power wire that's coming from the, here it is, from the relay. It's got to go all the way down to there. If I take it, let's see, how's the best way to run it? The best way to run it is actually underneath this airbox. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. Now I need to put a nice heavy-duty eyelet on it. And I'm going to do some shopping in parts to find an eyelet that I like. Be right back. All right, so I got an eyelet, and I have a hydraulic crimper here. Let's see how this goes. All right, how about them apples? Isn't that pretty? Okay, let's get a piece of shrink over that. That's probably a little big. Let's see what we have. Yep, that's what I want. All right, so let's feed that through again. And he fits right there. Now the question is, should I put a nut on top of that, or is that nut the nut that's your nut? The other one, all right, the other one has a type of platform under it, so it must have had a nut on it. Let's see what this one has. Yeah, it looks like it has the same platform. Undoubtedly metric. And I'm going to get a star washer to go on there. Number 11 metric. I don't know if you know it, but the primary use of star washers is to make sure you have a good electrical connection right here. Okay? Now I can put a standard lock washer on top of that. Try to find a nice thin one. There you go. Now all I have to do is find out where I laid that, where I laid the nut down. Probably carried it over here. Well, I think I did. Now before I tighten it, I'm just going to see if I have any type of rubber shoulder cover thingy jubby do to put over top of it. Did not have one when it came in. Let's see what I can make for it, just to put over top of that. Got a whole box full of rubber bits. That might do. Let's see if we can get this over. The only time this wire is hot is when the starter is engaged. But it's still not nice to have a nice big wire sticking out in the wind. I'm going to cut this down some, and I'm going to put some mother's milk in it. See if we can make it fit. All right. So let's put that on. Put the lock washer on. Tighten this down. How about denim apples? That's better than original. That'll do just fine. Okay. It's 1 o'clock. What else can I do? Well, what I have now is wiring. And I really need those parts to do any more. I mean, I could fool with stuff like that, but I'm basically stopped in my tracks right now. What else? Well, let's take off the oil filter and dump the sump. Dump the oil. I'll be right back. All right, let's get this filter out of here. Yeah. just made for these little guys. It's made by No Name Incorporated. Says OEM 25075. Made in China. And it's made for these little filters. Cannot begin to tell you where I bought it or when. Something fell down. That's neat. Let's assume that that fell down from something above and was just laying on the filter. Let's assume that, okay? I'm going to assume that because I just can't imagine it being anywhere in the oil system, okay? Let's let that just drain for a while. Here we are assuming that this bolt had nothing to do with the oil system. It was just sitting on top of the oil filter and it fell down when I pulled the filter out. That's what we're assuming. Assume, assume, assume. Okay, let's put the new guy on. I cleaned up the clamp a little bit cleaner. Put just a little bit of oil on the ring around. Okay, hand tight. And about half a turn. Okay. Scooby Dooby Doo and Ram a Dam a Ding Dong. Now I'm going to go ahead and dump the sump. All right, come along, come along. I'm going to dump the sump. Talk about exciting. Excitement. Yes, sirree, Bob. Naturally, I have a special tool. It's just this old socket. It's a 1.5, but I've ground it down flat so it fits on the sump filter drain plug really, really well. And it's 1/2-inch drive. You don't need a breaker bar this big, but I happen to have one. I'm not going to look. I'm not going to look. I'm not going to look. How in the heck will ship sail if I ain't going to look? There it is. Okay, now it's on. Oh, it wasn't even hardly tight. A little scary. That's about the right amount of oil coming out of there. Not a lot. All right. And there it is. Let's clean it. Took one bike apart once. That's nice and clean. This was first of all, it came out like this, without that, without this. So I fished around up inside with a magnet. This came out just mangled and beat over into a pulp, and this guy just came out with the magnet. You just never know. I see no debris in here. No debris, nothing solid. Just a little bit of gunk. What you can do with this screen, first of all, just observe. I mean, I can't see anything in there worth looking at. Now it's clean as a whistle. You can stretch this out to about that long and brush off anything that's in it, if there's anything in it. There's nothing in this one. It's gorgeous. So let's put this back together. Not even any sludge in the bottom of the engine. Nice and clean. Little red stuff never hurt. And there you go. Bob's your uncle. All right. All right. I don't expect I'll save that for him. Okay, so it's 2 o'clock. I could put the exhaust system on, but I'm not going to. I'm going to call it a day. Make sure that other video posted, and go put this one together. So the oil's drained, new filter installed, new starter installed, wired to the wire that has to go to, coils installed, oil lines installed, carbonizers installed with a surprise for Kevin tomorrow. Surprise, surprise, surprise. And I don't know what else I did today. It all sort of melds together. The bike is coming along nicely. Get the exhaust system on, get the new oil line on, get the assimilator installed, get the rectifier installed. Then I think I have to look into dash lights, as I recall. And he asked me to replace the primary case gasket, but I don't see any evidence of leakage coming out of the primary case. I'm going to ask him why he wanted that replaced, because I don't want to take it apart if it's not leaking. He also said that one of the fork legs was leaking, but I don't see any evidence of that. So we'll talk. Golly gee whiz, I think I'm just going to call it a day and get a little computer time in and get these things posted. And then right around 3 o'clock, I will hear my recliner calling my name saying, Frank, it's time for a nap. And that's the way it is here on Griswold Lane, where the fun just never stops.